I think that all of these challenges leave women, specifically because that's who we're talking about today, but
Right.
leave them feeling like they're juggling all of these plates, all of these roles, and having to get everything done.
But I want us to even normalize allowing people to choose their multitude.
Right.
My multitude, maybe my family. My multitude included maybe my friend, maybe my pastor. For some children in high school, it may be their teacher. Dr. Mo, the holiday seasons are buzzing around us, and we've been really caught up with that, right? And so it's a perfect time for us to look and talk about like letting go of things and unpacking things that we're not going to want to take into the new year with us. I mean, we want to go or desire to go into the new year. I know I do, as even my more authentic self, right? We've been like checking in. So we can consider this like our end of year pulse check.
All right. So I think it's so important for us to know why we're here.
Okay.
We're always going to be talking about this.
Okay.
What's the point?
What
are we doing?
Yeah. Who cares?
Who cares, right? So of course, women that look like me, look like you, only about 5 to 10% of us are actually engaging in mental health service right now into therapy. And it's about 21.5% of our counterparts that are engaging, which I still think that both numbers are real low.
Too low.
Because I'm out here in the world with y'all.
Right.
And so I feel like, where are y'all at?
I'm engaging at 95 and 70% of
at Walmart.
Unfinished work.
Unfinished business.
Right.
So this is why this is important. We're going to want to be opening up some dialogue, opening up some conversations in a safe place about what mental health looks like, what it is, what it's not.
Right.
And then what do we do about it?
And just being, my buzzword for this season and coming up in the new year is vulnerability. Like what is hard for some of us and all of the expectations and Black women trope, if we look at it like that are placed on us, and that urge to strive and just be seen in the world, right? And a world that does not always let you be okay, not be okay, right? I've always got to show up, always got to show out, always got to put it on, right? I put it on, right? Is the feeling that's out there. So what does it look like to talk about that?
What do you think it is? Why do you think that we're not having these conversations?
Why did I take that deep breath like that? I took that. I want to stop and acknowledge the deep breath. I took the deep breath because that's how heavy I believe. I think that was my body's somatic response as all the intersection things that I am as a Black woman, as a mom, just living and walking through the world and trying to show up in spaces the way people expect me. It's just such external stuff. So I think part of the pressure is stopping before we go into the new year and saying, hey, like, do I want to carry this heaviness and be deep breathing and living up to the expectations of others? Is that, I got this work that I'm doing and surrounding right now. Listeners, you do the work to do the work. That's just going to be the thing. We like to need to make that a tagline or something, because I really, in all of my soul, believe that. Like, if our listeners are looking for a space where these two pristine and perfect mental health professionals and practitioners are going to come and drop all this sensei wisdom, not that we don't have competencies, let's be clear.
Right. Yeah.
We do have competencies and we have things that we bring and experience we bring to the table, but we walk through the human existence and the human world. I was with some students actually recently that I meet with, and it just popped in my mind. I asked the question, what is therapy? What is counseling? And they gave all these grand answers of what it is. And I was like, these are people that are training to go in the field. So I want them to understand. And I heard something decades ago that I never forgot. Counseling is just really two people in the room. One person a little bit ahead on the wellness spectrum than the other? What does that do for me, for any of our practitioners or counselors or mental health professionals that may even tune in and listen to us? What it does, it keeps me in a place of clinical humility
Mm.
to say, it sounds like I'm saying a cliche phrase when I say you do the work to do the work. No, what I'm actually saying is I have to be vulnerable in my life walk and life experiences to constantly be scanning. What is going on with me? Do I walk through the world hiding behind the
Yeah.
mask of my
And I
profession?
think it's so complex when we talk about why we're not having these conversations, right?
Right.
Like you just gave a really good example of how it's tough for you, and you're supposed to be the one sitting in the seat helping
Exactly.
other people. And
Exactly.
so I find that there's so many different reasons. There's a mistrust for the medical
Right.
community by us, for sure, not just in mental health, but just in general
100%. Talk
of our
about that.
doctors.
Talk about the mistrust let's just call a thing a thing.
We
Talk about the
have,
mistrust in
yeah.
the African community that causes barriers to even just saying that you're not okay.
Yeah. I feel like, I would be not adequately having this conversation if I didn't say that we do have a pretty troubled past with how we've cared for Black and Brown people medically in our country.
Hmm.
And I found this like interesting study recently where they were talking about still today how many doctors still think and believe that Black people experience physical pain differently, like
Mm.
almost 90% of them. It was something crazy like that. I got to look up that stat. But it was amazing about how many of them still thought that we have some type of different tolerance or different experience of even physical pain, and that we somehow
Mm.
house pain higher, which leads us to have awful birth rates for women because a lot of times we're not listened to. And I
Mm.
think that's huge. Like when I think about sitting down into a seat as a person. I've gone to therapy. Like you said, we do the work
Mhm.
so we could do the
Mm.
work.
Mm.
So when I went to go sit with a therapist, the challenge was not only me trying to find somebody who understood me as my Black experience, what I'm living
Right.
in the world, not minimizing it, but being
Right.
able to understand that there are unique challenges that I experience. But
Right.
then also adding on top of that, for me, I'm also Christian. So
Yeah.
being able to sit in a seat with somebody who is also Black or understands Black culture and is also understands Christian culture on top of
Right.
that, and being able to help me to navigate life
From all of your
from all of my
spaces.
spaces,
And I
you
want to give a
know?
nod to cultural competence, right? Because it's not at all that we're saying, so strike all of you who said, oh, they just want Black people to see Black therapists. Go ahead and strike that. What we're saying is we want brown and Black and indigenous populations to be our multicultural, diverse populations to see culturally and multicultural competent
Yeah. Yeah.
therapists and providers and medication
Mhm.
management providers. What does that mean?
Mhm.
That means even if your skin doesn't look like mine,
Mhm.
I am confident that you understand cultural
Yeah.
humility.
Like I have experienced both myself in the seat, and then I've
Yeah,
also experienced some of my clients telling me
yeah,
about other therapy experiences where they felt that their pain, their emotional pain, or their experiences were minimized unintentionally
yeah.
because that person didn't understand. Like, for example, I had this one situation where a client was talking about their family structure. And from a different perspective, not being culturally competent, another professional had told them that what they were experiencing was inappropriate. Whereas I immediately was like, well, what did your auntie say about it? Right?
Right.
Like, well, she does have a say
Because we
because they
are
would say they don't
enmeshed.
have a say.
Right.
But for us, like for in that example, when we're talking about the family, the Black culture is so collectivist.
Yeah.
There's not just your mama is telling
Your
you what to
auntie.
do,
Like
your
not just
auntie,
your
your
really auntie
grandma,
by
your
blood,
right,
but let's go to your community
my
auntie.
play cousin, my,
Right.
there's so many different
Yeah.
factors. And so if you don't understand that, I think that's a barrier. So some
Mm.
mistrust, and then also a lack of understanding to be able to
Of
connect.
culture.
And then I do think, and I hate to be this guy
Be the
because
guy. For the
I
listeners,
am
be the guy. For us,
for
be the
me, I
guy.
love the Lord. The faith-based community can
Mm.
sometimes challenge people's ability to come get the work that they
Yeah.
need. And I think that that
Yeah.
is something that I think we're all working on. I think the
Yeah.
faith-based community is really working on that.
I
But I think
truly,
there's some barriers there. People don't always get their work because they
yeah.
sometimes try to speak it away, or
Yeah.
I think people suffer longer than they have to sometimes
I
in
just want
things.
I want to really be real, not light, but I don't want it to seem like we're bashing one or any other environments. That what we're saying and the things we say are conducive in any environment,
Yeah.
in every environment.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? But I do want to say that what does it look like to allow people to come into any environment unmasked, vulnerable,
Mhm.
and find safe and trusted spaces. If I could just tie that up in a bow, it would be that. That would be the bow for me.
Right. I think that all of these challenges leave women, specifically, because that's who we're talking about today, but
Right.
leave them feeling like they're juggling all of these plates, all of these roles, and having to get everything done. And I think that they do that under a huge amount of pressure and stress
Yeah.
that can lead to physical consequences, emotional consequences. But there is, I think, not being able to say that you're not okay kind of leads you into this place of striving,
Yeah.
and you begin to kind of get on this I want to say you kind of get on, it's almost like running on a treadmill
A hamster wheel.
or a hamster wheel,
Yeah.
right? Like you're running in place where you are overwhelmed but you're not able to stop. And you always used to say when I was growing up, the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you hold, we talked earlier, I think, in
Yeah.
previous episodes about how right now the Black woman is out there kind of killing it right
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean? That we're highly degreed. We're getting those positions. We're doing all of the things. We're achieving our goals. We're super successful by, I think, more of like a traditional sense of
Yeah.
success.
But let's
Um,
circle back to at what
but
cost?
at what cost?
Right.
And so I think that we are sacrificing our mental health. And I want to tag this book that was super helpful for me. It's
All
called Playing a
right.
New Game, A Black Woman's Guide to Being Well and Thriving in the Workplace. It's by Dr. Tammy Lewis Wilborn.
Hmm.
I know. I was actually looking for a good read. And
Yeah.
while I was doing that, I ran across this book. And she talks exactly about what we're talking about today,
Okay.
about how Black women are, doing really well as far as success, but they're juggling so much that we're actually sacrificing our physical and emotional health. We're more depressed. We're showing up higher in anxiety than most of our
Mm.
counterparts. We're also having higher levels of stroke,
Whoa.
insomnia, heart attacks, but we're, killing the
We're
game,
killing the game.
right?
And in the process, really
Killing
literally.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
So
Well,
this book was huge for me. It's a very practical way, and it's written by a therapist,
right.
right? So she's writing this, and it's written for Black women
I
by a
love
Black
that.
woman.
I love
And
everything
so
about
I
that.
love that as a resource. If you're somebody who identifies with
Yeah.
some of the things we're talking about today, you feel like you're juggling it all
Yeah.
at the cost of your mental and emotional health.
Mhm.
You want to be a successful woman, but you also are
Yeah.
really struggling to
And
maintain your health.
to maintain it. And bibliotherapy is big
Yeah.
for therapists, right? And so I just believe is for our listeners is part of what we do is to provide resources like this even to our mental health,
Yeah.
counterparts and helping professionals to have something to be able to give. Because sometimes it'll show up in the room with you, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to bibliotherapy and books and things like that, and you're like, okay, what do I do? A lot of times you as a mental health professional, you don't have to wait around to try to figure out how to help somebody who shows up in the room with these strains and tension in their intersectionality, right?
Mhm.
You can pick up a resource like this that's vetted,
Mhm.
by the community and track them as they walk through it because I guarantee you, I'm a big bibliotherapy girly, and I have books like this that I have given to people, and everyone that comes in has a different take. Why? Because the mask looks different for everybody.
Mhm.
One thing we're going to do on Skills and Pills is normalize asking for help
Right.
and making it. You were talking about a quote.
Mhm.
Who is it? Naomi Saka?
Naomi Osaka.
Osaka, what?
Right. She says that it is okay not to be okay, and
Yeah.
I believe she says, I don't want to misquote her, that it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we want to have that same culture here with Skills and Pills for people not to feel like that it's not okay to be vulnerable and say, listen, I need help. Like I've tried different things, but healing often does not happen in a silo. That's
Mm.
biblical, you know,
Right.
because it says in a multitude of counseling plans succeed, right? So, but I want us to even normalize allowing people to choose their multitude.
Right.
My multitude, maybe my family, my multitude included maybe my friend, maybe my pastor. For some children in high school, it may be their teacher. I have
Mhm.
even a couple of my children of the 5 that have said to me over time, oh, that teacher made such a difference. They were showing up at school, even our younger generations, wearing these masks and pretending they're okay. And so we want to normalize that
Right.
here on Skills and Pills. It is okay. Everybody say it with me, to not be okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah, while you're out here working twice as hard
Doing
for
twice
twice
as
as
much,
long, doing twice
co-
as much.
costing you your health.
Yeah, make
What's the
sure
cost? What's the
what's
cost?
the
Just
cost?
give me some.
Your
What are the
mental
costs?
health, your peace, your
Your
physical health,
your
your
relationships,
relationships. Yeah.
right? Because if
Mhm.
95% of us, according to the stats you gave us earlier, are not saying, listen, I need help. I need support. Again, we will keep circling back around to one of the goals of counseling and therapy and behavioral health in general is for people to function autonomously.
Mhm.
So, how about we normalize allowing people to identify what's help for them
Yeah.
and where they're comfortable and what space to take off their mask?
Yeah. And you said something the other day that was so, so important to me. And we don't even have, I think, the time to get into today, but you had mentioned you can't heal what you can't reveal or
You
what you don't
cannot.
reveal. And
You
so I think
cannot.
first taking the inventory to say, even though I'm functioning and doing well by life standards,
Not
maybe
thriving.
I'm not thriving.
I'm not thriving.
Yeah.
And down in deeper episodes later on, we
Yeah.
can talk about the difference between striving and thriving because I'm doing heavy work
Yeah.
around that. What does it look like as a Black woman to survive? But what does it look like to up that ante and literally thrive in life? It don't happen with your mask on for sure. Um, I know across my tenure, I said earlier, I'm a bibliotherapy girl. I am. So one of the things we can talk about is how do we build safe places? You know, no matter what those and spaces, trusted and safe spaces for people to be able to enter in their authentic self, to take that mask off. And I think sometimes when the mask is on, we'll say, I'm authentic. That just means you're spewing all of that 95% or that 70% onto people. But true authenticity can be had and the mask can come down when the space is safe. One of the books that I have had over the tenure of my entire career as a licensed professional is Safe People. I read this book before I offered it to anybody.
Mhm.
And I believe I offered it to you
Yeah.
at one point.
Mhm.
And the funny thing about this book is what? Do you
Oh my
remember?
goodness. So by the time you get to chapter 3, you're kind of wondering if you're safe yourself.
Yourself.
And I feel like I love that actually because I picked up the book hoping to learn how to um, identify safe
Yeah. You're not
people.
safe. You're not safe. You're
Right.
not
But
safe.
then by the end of it, I started to learn and identify ways that I could be safer. And I
Yeah.
think a good way to identify and create safe communities is by showing up safe in them,
Yeah.
right? And being an example of what safety looks like. And so I feel like you cannot be vulnerable in a place that is not
It's
safe.
not safe for you.
And I think that that is something that you can be for other people and that you can model. But then also that you can learn to identify.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean that you have to leave every place that is not safe emotionally and mentally,
Right.
but that may mean that you need boundaries in places that aren't safe.
Exactly. And
And
boundaries on yourself, like you
on
said.
yourself.
And I forgot to mention it. The book is by Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend,
Mhm.
Dr. Henry Cloud. And I even remember having this book or the book being given to me, sitting with it, reading it, doing my paces through it, and then starting to offer it
Mhm.
to my clients. And I remember even once I will be upfront and say that it is biblically based and
Mhm.
scripturally based. But I have offered it to my clients that don't even anchor
Mhm.
like in the same biblical truths that I do, because
Mhm.
the tenets of the book, when
Yeah.
it comes to safety and being able to pick up patterns in yourself that aren't safe, patterns and if you don't pick up those patterns in yourself and others,
Mhm.
you have what I start having what I call a lineup. That
Yeah.
means you will have the same unsafety in different relationships with different people with
Mhm.
different
And I think
faces.
one thing that I loved about it is when I could identify things that were unsafe in me, then I could pick up patterns in why I was picking unsafe people,
Oh, that's
right? I
good.
might not be picking a safe friend or a safe partner. And a lot of times, like people will say it all the time, I've got a type. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it's like you might be picking
I
that type
did
because of
though.
something that you need to kind of work on in
Yes.
yourself. And I feel like that is something you can find yourself in safer places when you work on being safe for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that it all kind of comes back to that vulnerability,
Yeah.
right? If you can be in a safe space and learn to pick safer people, then you can start to be very vulnerable, admit that you're not okay, and begin doing the work so you can help others do the
Yeah.
work.
We can get down into and you can talk. We can talk to the listeners about what does it look like not to make these grand gestures and have to do these 50-step processes where sometimes it's just beginning and stop. I know remember this movie, but there's this movie called What About Bob?
Yes.
And in the movie, there's this a psychotherapist that writes this book called Baby Steps, right? So sometimes when it comes to taking down the mask, you choose like one thing. What is one thing I can do? What I've committed to is to work on my own vulnerability and authenticity. So I show up in spaces. My authentic people know when you're
Mhm.
authentic, by the way.
Right.
They do know.
Yeah.
They will shut down, they will clam up. So working on that. So kind of talk around what that looks like. What is a baby step, if you will, that you think our listeners can take?
Yeah, oh my goodness. I feel like somebody that we are working with and we're collaborating with, which we enjoy so much, is Free Life.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
they're excellent, right?
It's Christina's
Um,
brand,
and
right?
they do a really good job about creating social environments for people that are trying to have sober living. So they provide non-alcoholic beverages, but also in kind of create environments for people to engage socially,
Yeah.
and to still feel kind of like they have some
Yeah.
adult autonomy. Is what I've heard from her. And so I think that's a fabulous way to get started, connecting with a group like Free Life,
Yeah.
and being able to do some social engagements, and just kind of get out there
Yeah.
and be with other people that might have experienced some things that you've experienced,
Without trauma bonding.
without trauma
Let's
bonding,
be clear.
please.
Please, let's
Please.
not. But the other thing is when you said get out there. So what
Mhm.
I hear you saying also is support networks.
You've got to have a
You gotta have
community.
them. You gotta have a
Yeah.
community that you show up in. Let's just be real. Thank you for being my community.
Yeah.
That I can just show up, even in this podcast. Thank our listeners
Yeah.
for coming and joining a community that you can hear something. We want you to hear something that you're like, oh wow, maybe
Mhm.
I do need to reach out. It's okay for me to
Right.
reach out to someone. Really, if you want to make it, take it into a clinical world, we look for support networks because look at this. I hope if my math is not mathing, somebody let us know. We're sure you let us know, but it's 168 hours in the week. You're with your helping professional for one.
Mm.
So you need community. We need community. No man can be an island. No
Yeah.
man.
Well, I think that we've had a really good discussion today.
I
There's
enjoyed
so
it.
much more though. I feel like
Yeah.
there's so much more to talk about. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we wanted to drive home today is that you do not have to juggle it all.
Absolutely
And you
not.
don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
And there's so much freedom in connecting with either maybe a helping professional,
Yeah.
and or just hooking up with friends, with your girls, or with somebody who you can talk with and be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And in vulnerability, you can find some
The f-
healing.
yeah.
So, what are some quick ways that we can do that?
The first thing is just taking off the mask by identifying a trusted, when I think we talked about this the other day. How do I know I'm in a trusted space? Let's just do that. The one step is, the first baby step is to make a commitment to yourself that I am going to find a space that I can show up as my authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And for the people that are listening, that you're going to be that space for someone, like, how can we then posture ourselves as not judgy, right? So when that person makes that initial step, right? We're doing this, and it goes beyond. We talked about Christina, our sponsor in Free Life, about this. This goes beyond just what we do siloed in this podcast. When we say share, like, ask your friend to subscribe, we are going to get down
Yeah.
into practical tools and resources that are going to help people to be able to unmask and normalize asking for help. But the first step is to take off the mask and reach out to somebody that is a safe space. You're going to know that safe space because when you show up in it, there's two things you're not going to feel. You're not going to feel judged, and you're not going to feel shame.
Yeah.
Well, let me add a third. You won't feel punishment.
Yeah.
In those spaces. What will you feel, Dr. Riffin, in that first step?
We're hoping, especially here, we're trying to create this little community too, right? And so we're hoping that we can have a community where people can share, where they feel welcomed, where they feel compassion. Yeah, where they can feel the compassion that they need to do the healing that they need.
Yeah.
And so baby steps, yes, identify that place, like places like Free Life, and subscribe to our channel. Let's create a community. Let's do it together.
Let's do
it together. Let's create.
I didn't even think about it. Let's come together as listeners and as podcast hosts and say, hey, listen, you want a check-in? You want a post check? Come on, let's do it. You want resources? Come, Pills and Skills. Let's do it. Let's you and I commit. Let's commit and join our listeners. And Pills and Skills is going to be the place where we're going to create safe space. You can trust that we're going to do our due diligence and best practices. We're going to bring your resources, unmask in this space.